please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Alvarado.
Here.
Senator Buford.
Here.
Senator Howell.
Here.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Parrott. Senator Schickel. Senator Smith. Senator Storm.
Here.
Vice Chair Girdler.
Here.
Chairman Carpenter.
Here. We have a quorum. We're ready to do business. We have 3 new members, new faces on this committee, 2 new faces to the actual legislature, which is Senator Storm and Senator Howell. We appreciate you all being here and your expertise in the world. We always need more attorneys around here, right? But good ones, right? That's the key there. And also Senator Alvarado. He's presented enough in front of all the committees with bills, so we just think we should go ahead and put him on this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. More coming.
Yeah. Imagine that. Real shocker there, Senator Alvarado. Real shocker. Well, we appreciate it. I'm going to change up the order just a little bit. My co-chair, do you have any comments you'd like to make, Senator Girdler, before we get started?
No, I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. That's what I got you here for, to support me. We're going to start with Senate Bill 71 first. It's actually my bill that I've brought this year, and I'm just going to do it from the chair here quickly. We've got several folks online that are going to testify now that with the new world of Zoom to talk about it. But Senate Bill 71 is the result of a cooperation among different numbers of groups. Do you want me to go ahead and do the amendment now, or can I go ahead and talk about the bill first? What do you? I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the bill, and then
I'll make a motion on amendment.
All right, thank you, Senator Girdler. We actually have a committee sub that we have to do first, so I need a motion and a second on the committee sub.
Same.
Senator Buford and Senator Girdler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We also have an amendment, so I need a motion and a second on the committee amendment. Senator Schickel and Senator Parrott. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. So Senate Bill 71 is the result of a cooperation among a number of groups. The insurance industry sat down with the Towing Association and worked out a bill this interim extensively to come to an agreement. Others who have also been consulted in this bill include the Kentucky State Police, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Kentucky Bankers Association, and the Kentucky Justice Association. As of early this morning, I've got text just wanting some language changes with just 2 words from the Bankers Association, and that's what the committee amendment was about. And so we've worked on this bill to make sure everybody is in favor, and it's a comprehensive bill to make sure it does what we want it to do. This bill deals with towing and storage, as well as some titling issues that have come up in the recent years. It contains a lot of the provisions of the model bill passed by the NCOIL Association. And it also has a few other issues that it addresses. I will now turn the floor over to our guests who that will introduce themselves and explain more about the bill. I know that we have several online, so I'll just let you all start in the order you want. I know Chris Nolan is on the line as well, so whoever's ready to start, I'll let you all begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mark Trish. I'm Executive Director of the Insurance Institute of Kentucky, which is the state trade association for property and casualty and life insurers. I'll turn it over to the other panelists to introduce themselves, then I'll start with a few remarks and then hand it off to Andrew Kirtner of NAMIC.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Andrew Kirtner with the National Association of Mutual Insurance Companies.
Good afternoon, committee members. It's Paula Smith. I'm Senior Counsel for Governmental Affairs for Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance Company.
And I'm Chris Nolan. I'm a consultant with the Insurance Institute of Kentucky.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, first of all, we just want to say how much we appreciate all the work that you've put in on this and your patience as we've gone through many iterations, many drafts. We've had input from a lot of sources. As far as we know right now, everybody is satisfied.
Motion on the bill.
Second. Wait, we have a second.
Yes.
Well, I've learned something over my 11 years here. If you get a motion in a second, there's no sense in wasting a lot of time with testimony, Mark. So I don't think, unless there's questions at the end, I think, yeah, that's right. He covered his mouth. I think everybody understands the bill, knows what it's about, and have been talked with different groups with it. So we have a motion by Senator Buford, a second by Senator Girdler. And then the motion is to amend to let's see, motion second on the bill.
Motion on
bill
Senate
as
Bill
amended
71
by
as
the
amended
committee
by the
sub
sub
and
and the
committee
amendment.
amendment. So I'll ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Buford.
Aye.
Senator Girdler.
Aye. Oh,
Aye.
sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Senator Howell.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Parrott. Senator Schickel. Senator Smith. Senator Storm.
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter.
Can we put this on
Yeah,
consent?
wait just a second, Senator Girdler. So I need a motion also and a second to do for the roll call committee amendment and to roll the committee amendment into a committee sub. That's just a voice vote. So motion by Senator Adams, second by Senator Girdler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's adopted. Do we want to do on
Consent?
consent? I'm not against that. Second. We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's on consent. That was easy enough. See, all the work we've done over the last 6 months makes it a little easier, Mark. We appreciate you all.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Senator Alvarado, I think you've got the next. You're on deck and at bat. We'll do Senate Bill 44 if that's okay with you. I'll let you introduce yourself, Senator Alvarado, for the record, and also any guests that you may have. I'm sure, do you have some folks supporting you online, or is everybody here with
On
you?
this bill, just my guest is here is Ms. Gwen Cooper.
Okay.
She's present, and you might want to hit your microphone. I'm obviously Ralph Alvarado, State Senator for the 28th District. And I want to thank all of the members here today, and thank you. I'm looking forward to being part of this committee in the future. I think our members know that our nation as a whole, and Kentucky in particular, is in the midst of a healthcare crisis. Every year, patients lose their health insurance because they can't pay their premiums for a period of time or even their medication copays. We'll talk about that here in a second as well. But since the beginning of the pandemic, it's been worse, and millions of patients have lost their health insurance. And for many Kentuckians, access to charitable assistance is an essential part of the healthcare safety net. Senate Bill 44 simply ensures that nonprofits and places of worship, like your churches, can pay all or part of your health insurance premiums and other cost sharing for your medications and treatments, if and when it's needed. And insurance companies have to accept and count those payments as if you made them yourself. This is like when a church or charity pays for someone's food or rent. The grocery store and the landlord accept the money regardless of where it came from. This bill will keep Kentuckians from being pushed off their insurance and onto Medicaid or having to rely on the government for disability. It'll enable folks to continue to work, care for their families, and contribute to society, not rely on the government, and at no additional cost to taxpayers. Charitable assistance is a crucial lifeline for patients in Kentucky, and while healthcare is extremely complicated, this issue really shouldn't be. So I'm asking all the members to kindly support this bill and help our families keep their insurance and access to care through charitable assistance instead of being pushed onto Medicaid. With that, Ms. Cooper, if you'd like to introduce yourself for the committee.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today, and thank you, Senator Alvarado. My name is Gwen Cooper. I'm the CEO for Patient Services. Some of you may remember me. I was worked for Hospice Health prior to taking on this role. Patient Services is the oldest charitable assistance nonprofit in the country. We have a 20-year relationship with Kentucky as we administer the Children with Special Health Care Needs Bleeding Disorders programs. And over our tenure with Kentucky, we have saved over $55 million in health care costs by working with patients to make sure that they stay on their insurance if they have no insurance or are underinsured, so that they can continue to live their best lives and be productive members of society. This bill simply allows us to continue doing what we're doing by having the ability to take charitable donations and give them to people who are unable to afford either their premiums or their cost of treatments. So it's not just tied to copays for medications, it is also for treatments, hospitalizations, travel to and from medical appointments, and truly anything a patient needs in order to stay whole so they can continue to work and live their best lives. To give you a little...
Have a motion and a second. Senator Girdler, do you have a comment?
I have a question.
I have a question.
Well, I got a comment. The health insurance industry, and Dr. Alvarado is right. He's more my doctor than he's my senator because he has helped me through a lot of times, and I do appreciate him. I really do. The only thing I don't like now, I'm sleeping with the enemy now because he's going to be up here with us. So, with all that said, every time, we talk about can't pay insurance. I know insurance companies real well. I've worked with them for 43 years. You give them half a chance to raise the premium on you, and they're going to. You give them some kind of doubt with it, and they're going to raise premium. That's the reason you have people without insurance. That's the reason you got the companies setting up nonprofits to be able to pay the health insurance. One of the things with this bill that the concern is that some of the nonprofits, so to speak, and this is not you, Ms. Cooper, has to do with pharmaceutical companies, which are the ones that's charging out the yang for their drugs. But the insurance companies has that fault in this too, and I'm saying all this to say, if the pharmaceutical companies are part of the nonprofit, then they're paying in little money to make sure that they're not on Medicaid. And with knowing that if they're on Medicaid, they're going to get nothing back later. But if they got health insurance, they know they're going to get back 10 times more or 6 times more than on Medicaid. Now, that's one of the fears the insurance companies has expressed to me. Now, under the health insurance side of it, the insurance companies cause a lot of our problems too by refusing to pay you and by refusing to do things. Just this morning, my daughter called me crying. Fact. I've got a little 4th grader that needs to be on, and I don't agree with a lot of this, needs to be on ADHD medicine. She can't concentrate over a minute or two, and then she loses it. And she's on virtual school. So today, the doctor that I've known since she was a child said can't get her medicine because the health insurance has refused it. So we've caused a lot of our own problems, and I understand why you're doing your bills. I really do. It's a catch-22. What we're doing is you're protecting them. I understand. They're going to come back and say, Dr. Alvarado is the reason we went up, or Rick Girdler's the reason we went up, or the Senate of Kentucky is the reason we went up. And I don't know where it's going to end. COVID's caused a lot of it. They're allowed to, the more chaos they cause. Anyway, long story short, I understand. The insurance companies are going to come after you one way or another, and the people aren't going to be able to afford it. Then we're going to need a whole lot of more nonprofits if we keep, So anyway, that's my speech for 44 and 45.
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So a couple things there, and thank you for those comments. I greatly appreciate them. In Kentucky alone, our goal is to make sure that we don't have people go onto Medicaid if they can stay on their commercial insurance. And since COVID alone, Kentucky's Medicaid population just from March to April has grown 7%. Also to keep in mind that the pharmaceutical companies do have an opportunity to work with the state's PBM and negotiate their rates and the drugs that they will put on the formulary. So as a nonprofit, we receive a variety of donations simply to be able to help people stay on their insurance and be able to get the treatments that they need so that we can avoid ER visits, lower the cost of health care, and avoid people from going on to Kentucky's Medicaid rolls. Our goals, I think, are all aligned in terms of just giving people the access to the care that they need.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, really briefly,
Yes.
if I may.
Yep.
So, and I appreciate that. I don't consider myself part of the enemy here. I consider everybody on this committee allies and friends. But I'll tell you one thing that I proposed to insurance companies with regards to pharmaceuticals and some of these costs of treatment, that there always seems to be a negotiation behind closed doors that people see. What I've told a lot of the insurance companies is what they need to start considering is instead of saying they're going to negotiate co-pays and things for the patients, I'd rather they just say for a disease state, we're going to give you X amount of dollars of permission to spend towards this disease state, and then say, if you have diabetes, we're going to cover $88.43. That's what you have to work with. Patient, whatever you want to get under those drugs that will fit underneath that cap, go ahead and do it. And that forces that patient and the doctor to say, okay, we got $88.43 in our budget per month. How are we going to manage this? If you want to bring pharmaceutical costs down, they're going to say, boy, I got a drug that costs $200 and I've only got $88.43. They're never going to use my product. I better bring my price point down so I can fit within that budgetary amount allowed by the insurance companies. And you take it out of the hands of having backdoor negotiations, set your amount that you want to spend for disease states. Maybe say we're going to limit no more than this many disease states together. There's this full amount, and let patients use that as a budget. Let them and their doctors figure that out and get out of the way of these backdoor negotiations. I think that would be a much better way. It would be a complete sea change on how we approach insurance when it comes to medications. But let doctors and patients call the shots, give them a budget to work within, and don't negotiate it behind the scenes, and it would work a lot easier. But that's, again, higher thinking, and I think it'd be a big sea change. But I do appreciate the comments and the concerns there as well.
We do have somebody to speak in opposition, and I'll get to them in just a second. But Senator Buford had a question.
Quickly, on page 1, line 25, it does state that under extent permitted by federal law, all health benefit plans may accept. So it's not a mandate. They can choose not to go this route if they so choose, the health benefit plans. So don't interpret this as a mandate. I can't imagine why anybody would not want to accept a premium that was due, but there are some people, you give them $1 for 99 cents and they'll come down here and object to it. So this is not a mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Buford. You all can stay at the table, but the opposition is on. It's Thomas Stevens with the Executive Director of Kentucky Association of Health Plans. If you're online, Mr. Stevens, you can go ahead now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It's my pleasure to be here today for the first time on behalf of the Kentucky Association of Health Plans. As you may be aware, we are the trade association for Kentucky's commercial health insurance providers and managed care organizations. I think what you can see already from the comments that have been brought forth by both Senator Girdler and Senator Alvarado, the complexity of this issue, but KHP urges you to vote no on SB 44. SB 44 allows a nonprofit organization, for example, a hospital foundation, to pay private insurance premiums for someone who may be otherwise eligible for government-sponsored programs like Medicare or Medicaid. While we're particularly sympathetic to the plight of Kentucky's rural hospitals, subsidizing providers at the expense of Kentucky's commercial insurance market and their members is a bad prescription for Kentucky. In the subsidized private insurance marketplace, the providers can bill at higher rates. What happens with the patient? One, they can be left unknowingly with copays, deductibles, coinsurance on both benefits and prescriptions. These patients were enrolled in Medicaid. These would be covered benefits. Of course, Medicaid reimburses providers at a lower rate. These practices undermine the individual market by skewing the risk pool, driving up the overall cost of premiums, and ultimately healthcare costs for individuals and small businesses to buy health insurance in the commercial market. One example that was provided by our membership is that the practice is prevalent with dialysis providers for patients with end-stage renal disease. These third-party entities, often funded directly or indirectly by providers or facilities, pay the patient premiums for their own gain, since private insurers ultimately pay substantially higher amounts for dialysis treatments than public programs like Medicare and Medicaid. As we continue climbing out of the COVID-19 crisis that's affected every aspect of our economy, transferring what's effectively a provider bonus onto the backs of Kentucky's commercial insurance market, while well-intended in many respects, will lead to higher premiums for Kentucky's employers, employees, and individual policyholders at a time when that simply can't be borne. So on behalf of KHP, we urge you to vote no on SB 44.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Senator Alvarado.
Just all members should have before them also a financial impact statement that says that it's not expected to materially increase administrative expense of insurers, and it's not expected to materially increase the total cost of health care in the Commonwealth. So I think the assessment determines that it wouldn't do that.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
if I may respectfully disagree with a few of the statements, is that we operate under an OIG opinion, so it is very highly regulated, and not everybody can go and open a nonprofit charity in order to do this. Secondly, we are not allowed by law to steer a patient to any specific health insurance plan. We lay out all of their options and they choose. So we cannot steer patients, as was mentioned with the kidney groups. It is not disease specific and it is not insurance plan specific. It is patient specific.
We have a motion and a second already on the bill. If there's nothing else to be said, I think I'll have the secretary please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Alvarado,
Aye.
Senator Buford,
If I vote aye and explain my vote quickly, I
Please.
think any time that we can prevent someone from going on to the Medicaid system, we should do everything possible. Because once they are on Medicaid, you may never get them off, and they may desire not to go to work to keep the insurance based on the fact that the other side is too expensive. So certainly support this highly. Thank you.
Senator Girdler,
Can I explain?
Yes, you can,
my-
Senator Girdler.
Y'all got me tore up here. And usually when I'm on the floor, I just keep my mouth shut and then stand up and point down or up. But Senator Carpenter said I can't do that. I wanted to pass because I understand where the health plans are coming from. And I understand where Dr. Alvarado and you are coming from. I really do. And I hate it. So, and if it makes you feel any better, Senator Alvarado, I'm planning on voting yes for Senate Bill 45. So that'll get us even, right?
Fair enough.
But this one, I'm going to pass on. All that means is he's got to get up on the floor and sell it. And you ever heard him speak? Good salesman. So, thank you.
Senator Howell,
Aye.
Senator McGarvey, Senator Parrott, Senator Schickel, Senator Smith, Senator Storm,
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter.
Aye. Just to make this known, Senator McGarvey is a yes, and so but you're going to have to. You can't get it on consent because your friend Rick Girdler was a pass. So just
That's all right. I don't mind
Hold on.
speaking on the floor. Mr.
Hold on,
Chairman.
hold on. You gotta know here.
Oh, did we have one?
Yeah.
Oh well, daggone it! I was really wanting to give Senator Girdler a hard time. We got to harass. I got to harass my co-chair every now when I can, Senator Alvarado.
Can I say something?
No,
The-
no, you
Mr.
can't.
Stevens, are you still on? Are you still on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. You see how much sympathy me and you get here? All these people just vote no. I just wanted you to see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much.
The bill does pass. Appreciate your help, your work on this. Ms. Cooper, appreciate you being here as well. Senator Alvarado, Senate Bill 45 is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members, for the vote on 44. Senate Bill 45 is along the same themes. This is a patient protection bill that's going to help Kentuckians afford their medications. And I raise this important issue as both a legislator and as a practicing physician. I'm also joined today by Joey Klausing, who's a co-founder of Cure CF. He's online, and Dr. Ben Mudd from the Kentucky Pharmacists Association, who's also online. They join more than 20 advocacy groups like the American Cancer Society, Hemophilia Foundation, the Kentucky Medical Association, the Arthritis Foundation, I think the American Diabetes Council, all who want to ensure that individuals suffering from chronic conditions have access to the medications they need. And Senate Bill 45 addresses a growing problem, which is a new insurance company practice called the copay accumulator adjustment that's leading to increased and often surprising out-of-pocket costs for Kentuckians when they visit the pharmacy. As out-of-pocket costs have increased steadily over the years, many patients, especially those with chronic conditions, have come to rely on copay financial assistance programs to afford their medicines. However, many insurance companies are refusing to apply the value of payments made through copay assistance programs to patients' annual deductibles, and it's hurting Kentuckians. This would be like somebody in front of you in a drive-thru at McDonald's or at Starbucks, paying for your meal or your coffee, only to have the fast food person there when you show up say, hey, we're going to charge you as well. It's just not right. And as a physician, I find practices like these concerning. And I know we've all heard from the insurance companies about making sure that patients have skin in the game when it comes to the cost of health care. And we do need to be good healthcare shoppers, I agree. And I've got a bill for healthcare transparency that everyone seems to oppose these days, but it would allow patients to be able to shop for their healthcare more easily. But this practice goes too far, and it punishes patients through unexpected additional costs. Studies show that when a patient's share of prescription costs become too high, they often skip doses or they stop taking their medicines altogether, leading to even higher medical costs down the road in terms of hospitalizations, ER visits, and long-term health issues. Unfortunately, this is another example of a barrier that interferes with the all-important patient-provider relationship where all treatment options should be decided. And we've all seen in their letters that we've gotten from the insurance companies this week that have a very complicated explanation, but I'll make it very short and sweet. The copay accumulator program doesn't help patients with chronic conditions. It only costs them more to receive the medicines that they actually need. And when a patient uses a copay assistance program, it's no different than any normal transaction at a pharmacy counter. The insurance company still gets paid, the pharmacist is still reimbursed, the patients still get their medicines, and is closer to meeting their annual deductible. To me, that's a win-win-win, and it should be for all of us in this committee as well. And let me give you an example. If you went to a restaurant with a friend and they were there and said, hey, look, I'll pay for your dinner. I got a gift card for Christmas. I'll pay for your dinner. And they offer that as payment for your meal. And as you're getting ready to leave, the restaurant says, oh, we haven't gotten your payment yet for your meal. You know, that's what the copay accumulator program basically does. It's saying someone's willing to pay it for you, and they're saying we're gonna charge you again and charge you double. Senate Bill 45 would put an end to this unfair insurance practice and ensure that patients aren't hit with unexpected bills when they pick up their medicines. And despite what you've heard this past week from some of these letters from our insurance partners, Senate Bill 45 will not push patients to brand name drugs. This bill is only applicable when there is no generic available. And believe me, as a doctor, I can assure you, when I write patients' medications, I'm incentivized to write for generic medicines. My quality measures from Medicare and from other agencies are based on how many generics I write. I get reports to compare me to other providers to say, how many generics are you writing? I think maybe I can count on my hand in 25 years of practice how many times I've told the patient, you must take a brand name over a generic. We've been incentivized for that, and we continue to be incentivized for that. So insurance companies are not harmed. The only ones that are harmed by these practices are the patients, which are your constituents and mine. And this bill helps our fellow Kentuckians afford and adhere to their medicines, and that's really what's most important. But you don't have to take my word for it. Take the word of the 20-plus advocacy groups that represent the Kentuckians that are affected by this unfair program. And it's the people who have the most skin in the game that are asked to continue to put even more skin in the game. And because of that, I'm going to ask for your support on this bill today. And I also want to introduce again, I mentioned him earlier, is Joey Klausing, who's online with Cure CF. Mr. Klausing, if you're there, if you'd like to introduce yourself for the record and begin your testimony.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Alvarado. Hello, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm Executive Director of Cure CF. It's a charity in Louisville that raises money for cystic fibrosis. We have 0 employees, so every dollar in goes out the door. Many families in Kentucky be impacted by the copay accumulator. Luke has cystic fibrosis. He's 13 now. He has 24 years left to live. So if you look around at your committee, many of you are probably older than 37. If you had CF, you'd be dead right now, according to the odds. Since he's been diagnosed, the life expectancy has increased, and that's only because of new drugs. These drugs are not cheap. There's no generic. I can't go down to Kroger and get it. It has to come from a mail order pharmacy. I can't get it filled at the Walmart or anywhere here local. The drug costs $24,987,000 a month. That's one drug. Luke's on 13 drugs just to stay alive. This isn't, a cosmetic drug. This isn't to lose weight. This isn't because he smokes. This isn't because of high blood pressure. This is because God made him that way. That's the way he was born. The pharmaceutical companies provide assistance to us due to the cost of the drugs that are vital for Luke and others with cystic fibrosis and other rare diseases to take. And I use that word vital in the truest sense, the truest definition of vital. A few years ago, the insurance company changed their policy and decided not to allow copay assistance payments received from the pharmaceutical company to count towards our deductible. Accordingly, we had $2,000 to $3,000 in extra expense when we normally hit our out-of-pocket maximum in January or February of every year. This is not right. What's happening here is we've got to get patients with chronic conditions. Medication's not optional or temporary. It's a permanent situation they're in. Kentuckians, much like Luke, should not have to choose between their health or their family's financial security. That's why we have to bring Senate Bill 45 to passage this year. No patient should be penalized by their insurer, and that's what it is. Luke is being penalized, a 13-year-old, because the insurer, the money didn't come straight from my U.S. bank account or my Visa credit card to Blue Cross Blue Shield or Anthem or Humana or United Healthcare. It came from someone else and went there. Yet they're saying that's not enough. You'll often hear, and you may hear later on, that it's too complicated and we need to pass this or push this down the line. It's not too complicated. It's very simple. They're receiving money from pharmacies, from copay assistance companies and cards. They should go toward my deductible. It's a payment. So when you hear too complicated later on, if they talk about that, think about Luke at age 13, and also when a 13-year-old with CF. And lastly, I'll close with this. You may say, well, they don't have skin in the game. We need to get these patients that have skin in the game. That's crazy. This morning, I got up at 6 a.m. and did Luke's hour-and-a-half chest percussions and breathing treatments, as I've done every day since he's born on April 28th, 2007. Every month, he gets skin in the game, literally, when he goes to Norton Children's Hospital and gets pricked to get labs drawn for his condition to make sure his liver isn't deteriorating from cystic fibrosis. So if someone talks about skin in the game for a person with a chronically ill child or chronically ill condition, that's disingenuous. I won't get to speak again, presumably. So I just ask for you, if you hear from other folks, these insurance companies like Anthem, who spent $125,000 in lobbying, or Humana, $122,000, or United Healthcare, $121,272. I've spent $0 on lobbying. I'm a CF dad of a child with a life expectancy of 24 more years. So I ask for you to remember, have a little bell go off in your head if they object to this and say, oh, it's too complicated, or it's not fair, or they don't have skin in the game. Think about Luke and the others with life expectancies of 37 or even less. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time or later on.
Thank you, Mr. Klausing. I've also got Dr. Ben Mudd from the Kentucky Pharmacists Association. Dr. Mudd, if you're there, if you'd like to introduce yourself for the record and provide your testimony as well.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Carpenter and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Ben Mudd. I'm a pharmacist and also the executive director for the Kentucky Pharmacists Association. Prior to joining KPHA this year, I've spent the last 9 years working in community pharmacies in Lebanon, Springfield, and Bardstown, Kentucky. Our community pharmacists play an essential role in our healthcare system, providing consistent care, individualized care to our patients across the state. One of the roles that a pharmacist has is helping patients navigate chronic conditions, including complex health insurance matters. I went to pharmacy school to learn about conditions and how to treat them. But one of the hardest jobs of working as a pharmacist is helping patients find ways to pay for their medications. These copay cards are a way to help patients manage out-of-pocket costs, making those costs more predictable and manageable. Each year, it seems like out-of-pocket costs and deductibles, they go up every year. And just making these options available for Kentuckians more important. Like they had mentioned, these cards, they're similar to coupons that you would use at the grocery store. Patients come in with a card, oftentimes we help patients navigate that system to sign up themselves at the pharmacy. They bring that to you, and we bill that as a secondary claim, and the money is deducted from the patient's responsibility. I think it's important to know too that the patient still, most of the time, and what I've seen, they still have a copay. They still have patient responsibility, but this card may take their copay from $150 to $25 or $50. Almost all the cards that I see in community pharmacy, they have a maximum. So they'll only pay $100 or $150. So if the patient's on a high deductible plan, they're still going to have a significant out-of-pocket cost for that medication. So it's not wiping their responsibility away completely. And from my experience, very rarely is there a zero copay card that I've seen. It should be known that the pharmacy, it is a secondary claim, and the pharmacy really doesn't have a lot to gain from this. In addition to the money that the copay card would give us, that the processor usually pays $1 or $2 processing fee on top of the claim, which, long story, but that's not all profit. Like there's costs associated with submitting a claim to an insurance company. So it's unfortunate that these insurance companies are no longer allowing these dollars to go towards the annual deductible and out-of-pocket cost. And, you know, it's unfortunate that patients find that shock and panic at the pharmacy counter. So, you know, I ask that you support this legislation. I think as a pharmacist, you know, I've spent a lot of time helping patients, and if we don't pass this and allow these dollars to go towards the out-of-pocket max and deductibles for patients, we're going to see more issues with adherence where patients are skipping doses or stopping their medications altogether. And I think it was very important that it was noted that, you know, ultimately, if patients can't afford medications and their health conditions continue to get worse, I feel that financial strain will force patients out of work only to seek medical coverage through our state Medicaid program.
Mr. Chair, I'd move
So
this
with
time that we adopt the Senate Committee Substitute number 1 to Senate Bill 45. Adopt that, please.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is adopted. Thanks, Senator Buford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the sub, I was going to bring that up, so thank you for that. Is on page 3. The only change is on line 12. We added what it says by another insured by another person for a prescription drug. We wanted to make sure that was clear, that this is for medications and it couldn't be interpreted to be broader. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thanks. Mr. Mudd, appreciate your testimony as well there on that issue. Do you have another person?
Just available for questions. They didn't have any testimony prepared.
Okay. All right. At this time, okay, I'm sorry. Senator Parrott has a question. Turn your microphone on, Senator Parrott. Senator Parrott, turn your Senator.
Page 3, line what?
Page 3, line 12.
Line 12,
on the
thank
sub. Yeah, the words, it says for a prescription drug. That's the change in the sub
Got it.
from the
Thank
original
you.
bill.
Thank you.
Thanks. We do have some folks that would like to talk on the other side of the bill. I know we've already heard from Thomas Stevens, and he's online, and also Connor Rose. So, Thomas, Mr. Stevens, if you want to make a statement, or if Mr. Rose has a statement first, or both of you, I'll let you do that now.
I'm happy to go
Mr.
first.
Rose wants to go first. I certainly won't object.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Carpenter, Vice Chair Girdler, and members of the committee. My name is Connor Rose. I'm with the Pharmaceutical Care Management Association. We're the national trade association representing pharmacy benefit managers. PCMA respectfully opposes Senate Bill 45 as it eliminates an important tool used by plan sponsors to contain the ever-increasing costs of prescription drugs and providing those benefits. As you know, it does require health insurers to treat all manufacturer coupons as an insured's contribution toward their deductible and overall out-of-pocket maximums, unless a medically appropriate generic equivalent is available. And to that point, I would note that there's some research back in 2014. They looked at the top 200 drugs by spending and found that 51% of those drugs that were couponed had no generic substitute. They may have had an alternative competing brand that achieved the same outcome, but there were no generic substitutes for over half of those. I would like to also emphasize at the outset of my testimony that PCMA does not oppose true means-tested patient assistance programs that help individuals afford their prescription drugs. In fact, many PBMs operate savings programs focused on the specialty drug space. We help identify and facilitate patients' enrollment in need-based manufacturer, charitable, and other patient assistance programs. And I think it's important to note that difference. There's a difference between means-tested patient assistance programs and then copay coupons, which are targeted marketing initiatives to individuals who already have health insurance. So as you know, I think each year we're having the same discussion about the ever-increasing price of prescription drugs, and that puts patients at risk and health plan sponsors in the difficult position of having to cut benefits or increase premiums, copays, and deductibles. And while health plans pay the vast amount of the members' prescription drug costs, drug manufacturers' price increases have forced health plans to create new benefit designs that keep monthly premiums as low as possible, but do require some members to shoulder more of the cost before deductibles are met. Drug manufacturers are encouraging patients to disregard formularies and lower cost or preferred alternative brands by offering coupons to help patients cover that higher cost. Again, this ultimately steers patients away from cheaper alternatives,
and towards the more expensive brand drugs with the less favorable placement on a formulary. And I would just like to provide the committee with a few facts on manufacturer coupons. We do know that the prices for drugs with manufacturer coupons increase faster, about 12 to 13% per year, compared to non-coupon drugs, which increase at about 7% per year. We know that if Medicare's ban on coupons were not enforced, cost of the program would have increased $48 billion over 10 years. We know that coupons were responsible for a $32 billion increase in spending on prescription drugs for commercial plans. And we know that for every $1 million in manufactured coupons for brand drugs, manufacturers reap more than $20 million in profit, a 20-to-1 return. And again, copay coupons by definition target those who already have prescription drug coverage. They are not means tested or designed to help the uninsured. And again, they are considered illegal kickbacks in Medicare and Medicaid, but still allowed in the commercial space. So to mitigate the cost driving effect of coupons, health plan sponsors institute copay accumulator programs. By disallowing the manufacturer's coupon toward the patient's out-of-pocket maximum deductible because the patient hasn't actually incurred that cost. And again, these programs help plan sponsors mitigate the harmful impact of manufacturer coupons on the overall cost, plan cost, and member premiums, ensuring that the patient has the incentive to stay on the formulary and use the plan design as it was offered by the sponsor. And again, I think it's safe to say that manufacturer coupons do decrease costs for patients. While they do decrease an patient's cost at the pharmacy counter, they don't reduce actual costs. And in fact, coupons are often temporary, and the individual patient likely will pay more when the coupon goes away, expires, or reaches its full financial value, instead of being started on the preferred formulary drug from the start. And so at the end of the day, it's the manufacturer who benefits by forcing the plan and indirectly the patient to pay for the more expensive non-preferred brand drug. Those are my comments. I'm happy to take any questions. If not, I'll pass the mic to Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Mr. Stevens, if you have any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, the very unenviable task of following up on Mr. Klausing's testimony, as well as Senator Alvarado and Mr. Mudd. The rising cost of prescription drugs is a concern for all payers, and as Connor noted, SB 45 is narrowly targeted to Kentucky's commercial markets. Of course, principal reason for that is that these sorts of discount cards are explicitly banned by the federal government, which considers them to be a kickback. It's also notable that these sorts, within the confines of this particular legislation, the Kentucky Employees Health Plan, covering our teachers and in fact members of this body, are also carved out of this legislation. So, what would be the reason for that? Copay cards may temporarily reduce out-of-pocket costs for patients. They do not reduce actual costs because plan sponsors and patients are on the hook for the full cost of the drug once the patient reaches their deductible. Fiscal note on this bill underscores the significant financial burden it imposes. Specifically, it talks about an increase in premiums in the commercial market up to $1.18 per member per month. These sorts of healthcare mandates passed by the General Assembly contribute to higher costs that are most felt by small employers, individual payers who don't have the resources to self-insure. And after what's transpired with particular emphasis on Kentucky's small businesses in the last year, a government mandate increasing health insurance premiums isn't the right answer today. KHP strongly opposes SB 45 and asks you to vote against it today. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subject to your questions.
Thank you. Senator Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very briefly, this bill has nothing to do with increasing insurance premiums. It's all about helping Kentuckians. If health plans increase premiums, it's only to protect their own bottom lines. I know we mentioned of profitability was mentioned here about pharmaceuticals. I don't think we want to talk about the profitability of our insurance companies as well. We want them to be viable, but there's also a case to be made there. Also, it does not include Medicaid or other state employee health plans because a state employee health plan is a self-insured plan. That's why it's excluded, and Medicaid doesn't have copays. And also, as far as facts, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, since 2006, health insurance deductibles have increased 300%. There's been an 89% increase in what patients pay in coinsurance. So you do the math here, how that is in the line. The states of West Virginia, Arizona, Georgia, Illinois have moved to adopt patient protection laws like this regarding copay accumulator adjustment policies, and there's several other states that have it proposed as well. Also, if you look at the fiscal note, again, I think it's inconclusive is how it's written, because the fiscal impact could be $1.18. It could also be zero, is what it's saying there as far as the costs towards healthcare. I'll leave it at that, and I just implore members to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any members that have questions or comments? I have a motion as amended by the committee sub by Senator Buford. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Storm. I'll ask the secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Alvarado.
Aye.
Senator Buford.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes,
sir. I have dealt with these PBMs, pharmaceutical benefit managers, and my doctor tries to prescribe Lipitor, so I end up getting the generic. And I try, of course, I get prior authorization. I give it to the lady behind the scenes of the doctor's office. She spends a half hour to 45 minutes on hold for this PBM to give her a response. So after 45 minutes, I go on and head for the drugstore. Guess what? Nothing. Nope, haven't got it yet. Call back tomorrow. Nothing, haven't got it yet. Third day, maybe. And they might turn it down. What has that cost the doctor? How much does he have to increase his next fee to sit on the phone with that PBM, and I'm with Newt Gingrich, get rid of them all? The cost that they charge to save you $1, you probably could get $1.05 back in savings. Thank you.
Senator Girdler.
I'd like to explain my yes vote.
Please, sir.
The only thing that I fear here, and I've expressed this to my friend, Dr. Alvarado, I fear that every time we make a law that says the insurance company has to pay more, and I understand why you're doing it, and just like Senator Buford said, I understand all that. But when it comes down to the long run, we are going to end up paying more. Now, if this is only $12 a year, but every time you go to the gas pumps and it's $12 a year, $12 a year, $12 a year, eventually it's going to get where we're going to be on, thank God, I hope we never have it, but it's going to be on government-run health insurance. You don't want it, and I don't want it. So that's my biggest fear is that we're going to price ourselves out of business, and it scares me. But anyway, I do vote yes for this. I do agree with the analogy that, oh, by the way, you said when you go eat with somebody, you've never eat with Schickle because he ain't bought yet. So I just wanted you to know that too. So thank you.
Senator Howell.
Aye.
Senator McGarvey. Senator Parrott. Senator Schickle.
He's mad.
Senator Smith. Senator Storm.
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter.
Aye. The motion does pass by favorable expression. So we'll have the bill on the floor. Do we have a motion for consent or anything like that, or do you want to do the bill on the floor?
Consent is fine if the committee would like to have it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is on consent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, members of the committee.
Senator McGarvey has a question or comment.
Mr. Chairman, I was out of the room and like to record it as a yes vote on Senate Bill 71.
71. That would be my bill. We really appreciate that, Senator McGarvey.
Record me as a yes vote.
Yeah. I think we have our business is concluded. Motion for adjournment.
Just adjourn.
Thank you all.
Thank you.